I'm Alli. I came out after 20 years of marriage and I have 3 kids.
I'm Melisa and I have 2 kids and I came out at 37 after an 11-year marriage.
This podcast is about coming out later and the struggles and victories that come with it.
When coming out feels like the end of the world, but it's really just the beginning.
This is the Lesbian Chronicles. Welcome to the Lesbian Chronicles, where I look like a lesbian today.
You look like a lesbian today. You do. You got the hat with a rainbow on it.
The reason I have a hat is look at my hair.
Most of the time, if I'm wearing a hat, that is why, is I didn't want to do my hair.
I had 2 back-to-back Zooms today, like work Zooms, and I got there like this, and then I was like, oh my God. So I ran and threw this on. And now I'm realizing they were probably like, God, she looks gay today. She never looks gay. It's not a problem. It's just like, I never look like this.
I like the hat though.
Thank you. It was a gift.
It doesn't say Virginia's for lovers.
No.
No, wait, no.
Manhattan Beach.
Oh, Manhattan Beach.
The reason
Wow.
that I have this hat is this really good straight friend of mine. This isn't even a gay hat. This is just like a normal
It's
hat.
a super gay hat.
It looks gay, but it's the branding. It's like an Aviator Nation hat. It's like
okay. Yeah.
So, but I have this hat because a straight friend of mine was out somewhere in public with a total random who had this hat. And so I was like, your mission is to steal that hat. Like, I love it. Try to come home with that hat. And she did.
If it's Aviator Nation, that hat probably costs like $500.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm exaggerating, but Aviator Nation is very expensive because like their stuff started popping up on like my Facebook ads.
Really?
And a lot of their stuff looks really gay. Like it has that kind of like rainbowish logo.
Vibe.
But man, it's expensive. I bought a tank top, but I got it on Poshmark. So it was like heavily discounted.
Well, that's really funny because she got this from someone and gave it to me.
They actually I hope she paid them for it.
Maybe she did. I don't know if she
She
didn't tell me that.
sold her soul.
Delivered the goods. I didn't know it was an Aviator. I like that brand, but I didn't even know that. I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, it is cool for sure.
So how are you?
I'm good. I was gonna ask you if you're going to the Queer Women's Professional Networking event next Friday, April 12th.
Is that
it's the one that the Low is doing?
Who's doing it?
The Low here in Atlanta.
Oh, the Low. Then I'm following it. I don't remember if I looked to see if I could do it, but that would be one I would be very interested in.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to give them a little plug because I mean, it's from 6 to 8 p.m.
Where is it?
So it's early.
Yep.
And it's at this place called the Lola, which is kind of near Ponce City Market. So
okay, so not far.
Not far.
Tell me what tell me the title of it again.
It is called Power Hour, a queer women's professional networking event.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Cool.
What's the date?
April 12th. So
April 12th.
Friday. A week from today when we're recording.
A week from today. Oh my God, that's actually like a really good I know I can do that.
Awesome. Outside of that, the one thing that I was like wanting to talk to you about too is everybody's hating on JoJo Siwa on TikTok right now. And while the hate is deserved.
Is it ever deserved when you're
I wouldn't say deserved. Deserved isn't the right way to put it. It's warranted, I guess. Like she looks silly. She's like, she did a video a couple weeks ago where she like comes up to the camera and like she's obviously showing off her new like tattoo sleeve.
Okay.
Right. And it's like just putting it out front and center. And like the attitude is giving like Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
she's like,
that's not what she was going for.
Right. But that's immediately who I thought of. And then recently she posted another video where she's wearing this wild costume that it reminds me of you remember Ben Stiller's character in Dodgeball?
Yep.
At the end where it's like this like shoulder pads and like all this grandiose stuff. Like that's what her outfit looks like. And she just wore it to some awards show. And she looks ridiculous. She looks ridiculous. But I kind of like feel bad for her because can you imagine being like what 21 years old and you're like in the spotlight from the time that you're like a child, and then I think she's like going through this phase of like you're coming out, and I feel like we can all relate to this, is like as we come out we're trying to like figure out like what our style is and like who we are.
Yeah, but is it like, why do people care? Like, I guess what I'm so curious around who, first of all, who's commenting, and then what are they saying? Like,
Oh, it's
oh, you look silly in that outfit.
yeah, like they're just
Okay,
they're throwing shade at her, making fun of her,
okay,
and
just being all around
just
dick.
being internet bullies
Okay,
basically.
internet bullies. Okay.
And I mean, I get it, she looks silly, but at the same time I'm like, let's all think about what we would have been like at that age. She's 20,
Yeah,
coming out and just trying to like come into your own, figure like shed this image that she already had of like the
yeah,
girl in
yeah,
the big bow and all this stuff. And I don't know, I just kind of I'm laughing about it, but I'm also like I feel bad for her.
yeah. I just also like am always curious around why, like, who takes the time to comment on someone's. I don't know her at all. She's not someone I follow. She's not someone I know even anything about, except for the fact that maybe she was like Dance Moms or something.
Yeah, she was on the show Dance Moms,
Okay.
and then kind of like
Had a
became
bow. She had a
I
bow
heard of her
company.
because one of my kids, like their friend was like obsessed with JoJo Siwa and like had a JoJo doll and it would sang, it was really obnoxious, and
Okay.
but all these kids were wearing the JoJo bows and all this stuff. And then I
Mhm.
remember when she came out, I was like, oh, holy shit, like that's a big person to come out that has like such a
Yeah.
following of like
And
the
now you're
young
like, now you don't want her in the
generation.
tribe?
No, I'm not
Oh,
saying that.
okay.
I just
I
am
was
like,
like,
let's give her some
give
credit
her some
here. Like,
room. Yeah.
yeah, give her some room to breathe and figure herself out. Like, sure, she looks silly in her Ben Stiller costume, dodgeball costume, but
Yeah. Well,
like,
is she trying to show off? Maybe she's been like working out her arms and she's feeling good.
I think she's trying to embrace the whole like masculinity thing and
Yeah.
like going hard with it.
Okay.
So,
I just started this book called The Art of Not Giving. I think it's called The Art of Not Giving a
oh
Fuck.
yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
It's not I don't love it, but I just started it and I'm thinking about the book right now because I feel like he would be a great person to give her advice right now, which is
Hmm.
just kind of like, you do need to give a fuck about some things, but these are the things that like you literally don't give a fuck about. Like just
Yeah.
do you and like focus on the other shit. But I'm sure
Right.
at 20, you can't.
And I think also, I mean, it's like a process. Oh, people are
It
comparing
is.
her to Gene Simmons too,
Okay.
in her outfit. But it's a process in like figuring out who you are
Yeah.
and
Like me
like
today.
right, exactly. Exactly. Would you have worn that outfit 6 years ago?
No, I'm not sure I would wear it today. I'm kind of like, this just like came together. I don't know why. I think it came together because I had a normal t-shirt on. I have normal girl jeans on, but then it's actually kind of chilly outside. So I was rounding up the dogs. So then I threw on this warmer shirt, and then now
A flannel shirt.
you're catching me as a not my normal habitat.
You look like you're gonna go out back and
Cut some wood.
lumberjack some
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. And I have kind of a hoarse voice today. So anyway, yeah.
Well, what would you say, like, as far as like presenting, do you feel like you present more femme,
I think I
right?
want to present androgynous, but I think I present more femme.
Yeah, I'd say so. I
Yeah.
think you've like kind of gone away from it a little bit, like
Mhm.
compared to when we first met. You're not quite as femme,
No,
but it's still there.
it's still there. And probably too, I sometimes think about like, am I like duplicitous? Because I think about like, well, maybe, I don't know whether you would say this, but we end up with a lot of straight couples a lot of the time. And we were out this past weekend at the Claremont, not the Claremont Lounge, but that hotel on the
The
rooftop.
rooftop. Yeah.
And I was definitely in heels, big, jeans that are like very wide at the leg and bottom, like very femme, tighter shirt. And I thought, like, I wonder I would never, nobody would think I'm gay. They would think Maria's gay, and then they would probably see me with her and know. But I bet, I don't know if I look that way at our events. Not because I'm trying to be different. I don't know if it's just my straight friends bring me to more places that I might dress more femme.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
I
know.
mean, I was just there the other day at the same bar, but we'd been walking on the Beltline, so I wasn't
Okay.
really too much thinking about my outfit. But most of the time, I'm wearing like high tops and stuff like that. Like, so a hat. So I'm gonna look
More
pretty
gay than
gay.
me. I know.
But
I
it's just
wonder.
interesting to me, like to
Yeah, it
think about
is.
how we evolve. It's like learning that you're gay is one thing, and then figuring out how you're gonna present and like let go of all of those like straight habits is a whole other thing.
Right.
And I think we're just seeing the extreme happen with poor JoJo over here.
No, I do feel a little bad for her. Because I have a daughter that's 20, I feel a sense of protection for her. Like,
Yeah.
step off.
Yeah. And I'm also just really glad that like smartphones and the internet, social media was not a thing when I
Oh my
was
God.
like
I
in
was
college. And
so unattractive. I literally was saying to my sister the other day, my mom used to do this thing where she would constantly tell my sister and I that like we were like the prettiest, like she was always like, you girls are so gorgeous, you're so smart, you're so this, like constantly. And so it's like then your whole life you're told how beautiful you are. And like my mom would do the thing where she's like, I can't even believe it. Like you both are like unbelievably beautiful, smart, like all these things. The same things I do to my own children and double.
yeah. Hmm.
But then it's like you get older and you look back and it's like, I know I was never, I mean, I've progressively gotten, I think, better, but like I was not an attractive high schooler. I was not an attractive middle schooler. Like it was
Oh,
bad. Like I had a bowl
but you were
haircut.
walking around there like you own the
Oh my
place.
God. I believed everything my mom said. I mean, I had acne. I had a bowl haircut. I had like nothing was great about me. And I never knew I wasn't, I thought I was really pretty.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, like I believed her.
Yeah.
And when I look back, and it's obvious I wasn't, no boys liked me. Like I wasn't, the
No boys
signs
like
should have
me.
been there, but they weren't.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was like really self-conscious in middle and high school. And
Really?
I wasn't at first. Like in sixth grade, I remember I didn't care what anybody thought. And then it's like all of a sudden people were talking about who was popular and who was not. And I was like, oh God, like I need
Am I?
to,
Yeah.
yeah, like I needed to like elevate who I was. And like
Right.
and I had I had like acne, but it wasn't like terrible, but my mom made it out to be like it was terrible, like
Oh,
taking me to the
wow.
dermatologist and stuff. And I remember the dermatologist being like, this is normal. And she wanted to put me on, God, what is that stuff called?
Accutane.
Accutane. And they were like, no.
Oh,
Like,
wow. Okay.
yeah.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and so I
That's so
think that kind of
interesting.
messed with my head. But meanwhile, she was like, you're beautiful, you're smart, and all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe not so much the smart part, but I don't know. It's like these underlying messages that I was getting was that no, you're not, like you've got acne and like, the confidence wasn't there for me. And I think that's
Okay.
also why I didn't want to like discover who I really was at that time.
I wonder, I mean, mine definitely built me up, but I still didn't want to discover. But I sometimes think I didn't want to discover because I just wanted the babies and it
I
wasn't
mean,
like I don't
reflecting back on that time, and I do this a lot, I think about it a lot, like the 90s just feels like a totally different ball game to me, like as far as like how accepting people were during that time,
yeah,
especially I feel like for people in like their 20s and 30s during the 90s, we're having a different experience than like for me as a middle school and high school student. I don't know. It's interesting because like we sometimes we'll talk to someone who's like, who was it? Teddy. Teddy was out and like bisexual or whatever in the 90s.
right.
And it was like a level of cool.
I
I
know
don't
you
know.
say that. I don't feel that. Like I remember her saying that. I don't remember that in the 90s. Like I remember, but I think too, like the Catholic thing is real. Like you guys weren't
Hmm.
raised the way we were raised. We were
Right.
raised in a doctrine, and it's school, it's your weekends, it's your like
Yeah.
my
Maybe I'm thinking this more so it was like cool in like New York and LA, you know?
I don't know
Like
that a
there
Catholic little girl in Catholic school in the 90s even related to those people.
No, not at all. But if I remember the movie Chasing Amy, like that movie,
Yeah.
they really made like the sexuality thing like cool
Yeah, I
in
can see
that
that.
movie.
Yeah, I'm sure I thought it was really cool because I was secretly gay,
Hmm.
but I didn't dare think that that was an option.
But then, yeah, that was a movie, and what was actually happening in real life was that Matthew Shepard was being beaten to death, and like,
Yeah. It's
you
like,
know, Ellen's career tanked, like that kind of
right.
stuff was like what was happening in the real life.
So I think about like Ellen's career tanked, and everyone says that. And like that's her narrative too. Like she said it hurt her. But then don't you sometimes think about like she had her show, but then she did continue to get like uber famous.
Well, right. I think when she says her career tanked, it's more so like
Her sitcom career.
the sitcom got canceled not long after that, and the phone calls stopped happening for her. She
Okay.
stopped getting jobs for a few years.
Right.
And then it was not until Finding Nemo, where she was Dory, that she kind of like made this like low-key, slow comeback.
Yeah. We can hear
So,
you, but we don't want to see you.
right, exactly. It's kind of like Kathy Griffin, Kathy Griffin got canceled several years ago because of the photo that she had with Trump, and she got like heavily investigated for that whole thing. Like terrifying from what she shares now. And she kind of disappeared off the map for a little bit and is now making a comeback. Like
Right.
she's going on tour in a few months. I like the moment that I saw tickets were on sale, I bought them. I was like, hell yeah,
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
going. So I don't know. It's like these little things where people like their career does tank, but it can come back.
It's also, I don't know, like I for that little girl, I hope, or I guess she's a woman now at 20, JoJo, keep us updated on then what the fallout is. Like, then is there a layer of people who rise up like to her defense? And then it's like, oh, now it's a positive.
Yeah.
Do you see that too? Or is that
I think there are people coming to her defense, I feel like, but I'm seeing more so people kind of poking fun at her. And I think the other thing to remember too is like your mental health at that age is really unstable. It's really easy
totally?
to push you over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I think people need to be like more aware of that. And also like she has a new song out called Karma. I think it's a great song. Like,
Yeah.
so no need to be dicks.
Yeah. I agree.
Bottom
Especially
line.
about people's appearance. Like that always to me is like, I don't know, kind of off limits.
I agree.
Like I don't like
Yeah.
that at all. Like
I've told my kids that. I'm like, we
yeah.
don't make fun of anyone's appearance.
No, it's like that's to me is like really says everything about you, nothing about them.
Right.
Uh,
God.
yeah. So there's our public service.
Yes, for JoJo Siwa.
Exactly. That's who we're going to go to the mat for. Um, so what do we got today? We were going to talk about attachment.
We were going to talk about attachment because I know we did this. This was one of our early episodes. I don't know if you remember this because I had never heard of attachment styles and all that stuff. So we did an episode long ago, years ago, about the different types of attachments and like what we thought we were, like where we landed in those categories, because there's like 4 main categories: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. But kind of what I wanted.
Disorganized, I've never heard.
Really?
Yeah, what's that one? I know the others.
Let's see.
Maybe disorganized is like you're none of it, you're kind of a little of everything.
It's characterized by inconsistent and hard to predict behavior. So, and it's sometimes called fearful avoidant.
Okay. Fearful avoidant, I've heard.
What I've kind of like noticed over the years and the relationships I've been in is that I can be all of them.
Yeah, right.
Depending on like what the dynamic is.
Yep.
And like what's happening.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, that's like what my therapist said when I was seeing her, and I'm like, I know I'm anxiously attached, or I'm an anxious attacher. And she's like, wait. No, you're not. And she's like, you are not. You were securely attached for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Like you don't label yourself as an anxious attacher. You're not.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting because I'm in a phase maybe at some point where I am anxiously attached for whatever reason, maybe it could be a million things. So yeah, say more because I think
Well, and that's just it. I think our relationships will go through phases. And something that you told me a couple weeks ago was what Jamie told you, is that it takes 2 years to really know someone in a relationship.
Yeah.
And like that kind of blows my mind, because I always had that 1 year thing, like 1 year, don't make any big decisions until a year, 4 seasons, whatever. But now I'm realizing, like, no, it takes so much longer to really know someone.
Yeah. And not
And
even that they're a bad it's like what the therapist said, and then Jamie reiterated, is that 18 to 24 months is complete honeymoon. And my therapist said, throw it all away. Nothing that
yeah,
happens in first 18 to 24 months is real, basically. It's all has a little bit of drug mixed in with it.
exactly. And like, we're all out here making big commitments in that span of time when you really don't know what's going to happen. And I think for a lot of us, we're able to like kind of play the role of the secure attached in that first like 2 years, and once you get to know each other and like real shit comes up, that's when the attachment styles really start to show up. The anxious side of you, or the avoidant side of you. Now, some people are like avoidant right out the gate. And on all honesty, I think if someone's like avoidant out the gate, they're not that into you.
Right. It's so true. Yeah.
Like,
They've told
move
you.
on.
They've already told you.
They've already
Yeah.
told you.
Yep.
If they're not returning your text, or like they're busy with work,
Come on.
like, oh yeah, we can't hang
Good
out, I'm
time.
busy with work. Unless you're out of fucking
100%.
town.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. I say this to my children. It's like I am super busy. I have 3 kids. I have a company. I have tons of shit happening in my life. If I want to have dinner with you, I will.
right.
And that's the honest to God truth. So it's nobody's too busy. And I have a friend who calls me out constantly.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, bull fucking shit. I know you have time.
Yeah.
Make it.
I mean,
Um,
if someone's playing that, move on.
Move on. They've just told you. You already have the information. I think of it too with the 18 to 24 months too, is maybe it's not necessarily that they're not being fake. I mean, they're so excited to be in it. But as time goes on, it's kind of like if you show up on vacation day one, I'm pumped, I'm getting drinks at the bar, I'm super excited, I'm in a good mood, I'm making conversation. By day 3, I'm kind of getting quiet with my book. I may not be quite as engaging as I was night 1. By night 6, you're seeing the real thing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like that's a microcosm of you can't be the same day, in the first 18 months that you are 5 years in. Trust me, I'm here. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
These are 2 different women that met that are now living together 5 years later.
And shit still comes up.
It comes up.
It's like, I think those first 2 years are fairly easy. It's when you hit the year mark and you start talking about like where this is going, that could trigger someone into being avoidant. That could trigger someone into being anxious. And if like, I think a lot of people will hit that mark and just be like, this isn't working.
Or how about just 2? It's like, again, the vacation analogy, but it's not that fun anymore to go out to dinner. Like, it's
Yeah.
not that fun. It was really fun at the beginning because I was so excited and you're amazing and all these things are happening. But by 6, 9, 18 months, I love you. I'm still into it, way into it, but I'm not quite as excited about the thing we're doing. So it's like, I think your level of energy towards it kind of mellows out, as it should.
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of like a kid with a new toy.
You got it. Yep,
Like, that new toy is so exciting and so fun.
yep.
Best toy I've ever had. But over time, it's like not as fun to play with,
Right.
and
That's a
it's like,
much better analogy. Yep. Yeah, it's the new toy.
but it's like, you still want to keep the toy,
You want to keep the toy? I'm never giving up the toy. I'm attached to the toy.
but you have to do work to make sure that the toy doesn't get like thrown into the Goodwill box.
Totally. And you have to feed it and water it and make sure it's getting air, or otherwise it suffocates.
And find ways to compromise through it.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think I guess the ultimate message that I would say for this situation, and like what I feel like I hear so often from people of like, hitting this hump in a relationship, a year or 2 in, year and a half, 2 years, is like you have to find compromises here. If you guys are not matching up on your attachment styles at that stage, if new shit's coming up and you can't talk through it, it's impossible to get through it then. Like
Yeah,
if it's worth it to you, if it's worth it to you to like keep this person, like you've got to have some really hard conversations. But
right.
those conversations will hopefully like help you guys find like a middle ground.
Totally. And I think another like kind of a thing that stuck out to me, I had a conversation with a friend of mine a couple weeks ago where she's in a relationship. She's been in a relationship for a while, but she's like, I can't help. I mean, I think maybe for like 2 or 3 years. So she's just over that, honeymoon part. But she was saying how like I sometimes find myself wondering what it would have, maybe like I'll meet someone and think, God, I don't know, like am I in the right place? Should I be this committed, or should I be exploring this other thing? Like her mind is starting to be open to other possibilities. She's not having affairs, she's not doing anything. But she's like, I feel like, is that normal? Like, is that a normal thing? And I don't know the answer to that, but my reaction to her was likely not. Like when you're off, I always think about kind of what Alyssa said when she was on our show, that like she's completely shut down in that way in social situations. Her brain doesn't go there. Like she's just like, I'm so in my relationship. And I think about like my mom and dad, or like my sister and her husband, me, like you're not out in a social situation, kind of not weighing your options, but my eyes
Well,
aren't
with
even open.
yeah, right.
But hers are. And she was
Hmm.
curious around, and I think it's a good idea to be curious around. What does that mean? That I do sometimes wonder if I'm in the right spot, or if I should be dating around, or like
That to
I
me
want
says that
to,
there's
but
something lacking
yeah,
in the relationship
right. Or
because
yeah,
when I've been securely attached, like I was in my marriage and I have been in phases of relationships, I'm not going anywhere.
yeah,
But once it becomes like there's some rifts here or like I'm not getting what
I
I
need,
want out of this relationship, yeah,
yeah,
you start looking around,
and wondering if,
wondering what else is out there.
yeah, yeah.
And
So I think
I
that's another way to kind of gauge how you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's again where the communication thing comes in. Do you let your eyes continue to wander and start talking to
Wondering.
someone else, or do you talk to your partner and say, "Hey, there's something going on here"?
And I don't know that it ever even starts out. Like, we've talked about this, but like, you're shady if, and it's like,
Mhm.
it doesn't start out where you're necessarily having an affair. It's like little nefarious things. It's like maybe you're at a bar with a bunch of people and you're having a conversation that you then let me give you my number. Let's talk about this other thing. And then
Yeah.
the other thing becomes three conversations. And then it's like you're texting at 9 o'clock at night and checking your phone. Like, when you're starting to be shady. And I guess like that to me would signal that maybe the relationship, yeah, needs a tune up, or is it an attachment thing? Or it's like you're not securely attached. And so you're looking for something else to kind of grasp onto. I don't know.
And I feel like sometimes like by going to your partner and saying like, "Hey, I'm not like something's wrong," you could easily trigger the secure partner into the
Oh
anxious.
my God, I would die if somebody told me that, like, hey, I'm starting to like have this thing. I would be very anxious
And it's like
and
you can't
insecure.
control it. It's your internal being that is
Yeah.
at the wheel.
And but is it too, like, you and I are a little bit more that way? Like, I don't want to say jealous, but just like a little bit more triggered by stuff like that. But I had lunch the
Absolutely.
other day with Melena. I invited you and you couldn't come, just so
Right.
to remind you.
I
But
remember.
so anyway, I had lunch with Melena and I was asking her how she's doing, and we were talking about her partner and how her partner they're never jealous. Like, she's describing like her partner's in this like pickleball, gay, I think, pickleball like league, and she's not in it. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
does it kind of like weigh on you? Like, they're out there, like maybe having beers after this gay group of women, they're playing sports. She's like, no, never really even crossed my mind.
Thanks, Allie.
I know. I was like, oh, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure it's
No, it
fine.
is
Forget I
fine.
said anything.
It is totally fine. But do you like what is wrong with me? And I know her partner. Her partner's a 10 out of 10. She's never doing anything.
No.
But it's like, I would be a little bit like, fuck, I'm nervous to have my partner out there.
But I mean, that also stems or boils down to the fact that they are secure.
I know, right? But why I should be secure, but I
You
don't,
should
I still
be.
have those jealous feelings.
And I think it's in those kind of situations, it takes the person that is going off and playing pickball saying like describing who she's hanging out with and like being open about like what that relationship is like with those people and like what they're doing. And as far as like, is she actually going to have beers with the group of people or is she having beers with like one person afterwards?
One special.
Just one special person.
No, I
But
don't even know that the beers happen. I kind of added that part because if it were you and I playing pickleball at Pullman, we would
yeah,
be having beers at the dailies.
right.
So, I guess I'm like, I don't know. And then I was like, kind of like digging in further. I'm like, I mean, it doesn't start out bad. It's just, like one thing leads to
God.
another. I bump you on the court.
Has Milena slept in the past 3 days following this lunch? God.
She was just like laughing. She's like, it doesn't even cross my mind.
But also, I think it's so important to like do stuff like that outside of your partner.
Totally.
That contributes to being secure because if you're not doing that kind of stuff and then you kind of get to that 2-year mark and you're like, oh, like I really need like that outside part of this relationship, like my own shit going on, and you bring that up, that's gonna be a rift in your relationship.
Yeah.
Going to be an issue.
It's
so if
true.
you go into it saying like, hey, by the way, I like to do this with my friends and it's something I just do on my own.
My friends and I like to go to strip clubs. I hope you're cool with that.
I hope you're okay that every Wednesday we go to the Cheetah.
Exactly. I don't think though that I'm thinking about my own relationship and how like it has evolved to we do more now independently. We definitely have like, I don't know, like I think it did take a minute to get to a place of that.
Well, it's kind of like what we were saying with the honeymoon thing. With your new toy, you want to be around the new toy all the time.
Yeah.
And if you get kind of played out after 2 years because you've spent so much time together.
Right.
And then you lose the connections that you had before with your other toys.
Right. And it's like Esther Perel says, like you want some mystery. Like there should be some mystery to your partner. It shouldn't be that it's just like this.
And mystery being like that you don't hang out all the time, not mystery being like, oh yeah, I have this friend, but I'm not going to like tell you their name.
No, God, no.
I had that happen to me.
Really?
Yes. Like
when?
my first girlfriend.
She wouldn't tell you her friend's name.
She wouldn't tell me people's names. She'd be like, oh yeah. She had like nicknames for them. And
didn't want you to be friends with them?
I had never met these people. For all I know, they were fictional.
Oh my God.
Like it's bizarro world, man.
Bizarro world.
Like who does that?
That's
and like today, if that was like a thing that my partner brought up, I'd be like, no, like you're telling me the names of these people. Like that's not fair.
Yeah.
At all.
Do you ever, but like the mystery thing that she means is like mystery, I think, keeping it alive. she definitely doesn't mean like deception. It's more like there's more to me than you know. Like you don't know everything.
I think the big takeaway is that like there's more than 4 attachment styles. You're going to be different in different relationships. And like, as you heal and address your like childhood wounds and the wounds from your past relationships, like you're going to change in how you show up in a relationship.
It's true.
Not set in stone.
And how about even just like hormonally throughout the month?
That too.
I show up. I mean, sometimes I'm fragile. I am like literally so fragile.
100%. It's so funny because like I'll be texting my friend Christine and be like, oh my God, like the world's ending. Like what's wrong? And she's like, are you about to start
your period?
And I'm like, God damn it, yes.
I know.
And it's funny because like I used to feel like offended by that because people would say that like to be mean in school and stuff, be like, yo, you're on your period. But no, it's true.
It's like, yeah, I actually am.
I actually am. And it makes sense. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense as to why, like, I think the world is ending right now. And maybe I need to like take that into account.
Even
That's why I'm
like
anxious
I
today.
think about like my daughter will call me from college and she'll say like, I'm so fragile right now. I need my mom. Like, when are you coming? And then like literally 24 hours later, she'll be like, oh, false alarm. I'm totally okay. Started my period.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm like, okay, well, glad I didn't book the flight. Um,
Download a period tracking app so you can look it up and figure it out.
Yeah, totally. It's so crazy. Anyway, I think that is really important. And I wanted though do you have a few minutes to talk about our website?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I've been so crazy with work, but I did get back on there. I freaking love this site. Again, shout out to the woman that built it for us. You know who you are. You're amazing. She's had a million great ideas that like you and I would never have thought of or known how to do. So
And it just looks
well, it
fantastic.
just looks killer. But I like that people are starting to post, and I think we need to do more promoting it because I think more people that know about it, they'll go on there and read, add comments. Somebody just posted a really cool, funny kind of book, and it's called Dry Humping and something else. I forget the rest of the title. Let me actually find it. But it's about, I think, getting sober and having really great relationships, you
Oh
know?
my God,
Um,
dry humping. That's
yeah, it's
hilarious.
called, let's see, Dry Humping, a guide to dating, relating, and hooking up without alcohol.
Wow.
Um, but anyway, this woman is a recovery coach and she's on our web, she signed up and she posted this book. I mean, I don't have a problem with drinking, but I still think this sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
So,
And well, I mean, like we brought up before, you don't necessarily have to have a problem with drinking to address your drinking. So,
I thought about that too. Like yeah, you don't have to have a problem with drinking to give up drinking.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that there's a lot to that. But anyway, please, 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 people, if you're get on there. Like, even if you just wanna, you don't have to sign up even, just read, other, I think, how deep into the site can you get without actually becoming a member?
I
I think
think you can
a
go pretty
little
deep
bit.
without having to sign
Yeah,
up. If you don't feel comfortable signing up, that's fine. Yeah.
yeah,
There's still stuff on there for you to look at. Um, and I also want to bring up too, like we haven't had people that submitting to the Love Lounge lately. And it's
yes.
spring. We need to get out there.
I think it's because
So,
we haven't really talked about it. So again, like Love Lounge, send us videos or even post on the website. We're going to eventually have a Love Lounge on the site. So you could like,
mhm.
give your info there if you're open to meeting someone.
Yeah, we got to find a way around the dating apps. I think the dating apps are on the outs
Yeah.
and they're just not working for people. And we got to find other avenues on like how to connect. So,
Right. So there's a million ways to do this on the site. You can say where you're from. You can get together with other people that are in your area, in your state. But most of all, just our hope for the site was that people would tell their stories because when Melissa and I were first coming out, we were like scrounging to find anyone. And I remember there'd be like a book, and then we would all like read the one book. And it's like, I loved hearing about people's story of I was married and here's what happened. And it's like,
yeah.
this is such a place that you can take 30 minutes and just type out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be just tell your story because to me, people will get so much out of just reading through that stuff.
And change your name, change
What's
the
your
names
name?
of the
Yeah,
players
I want
involved if you
to.
feel like you
Yeah.
have to. Like it's so true. Like that, I will never forget having therapy, being afraid to go into that group meeting the first time and Melissa, our therapist, saying like you need to do this, you're going. And it was like an immediate refreshing feeling to hear everyone's stories.
Yep, I agree.
Like,
And I think we're gonna eventually have on there the questions, the introspective workbook questions.
mhm.
And I've kind of looked through some of those. They're amazing. Like I think that would have been such a good tool for me.
Right. So like to explain what that
Yeah,
is, it's a 28 step program, 28-day
yeah,
program that gives you questions to ask yourself and kind of like journal prompts. If you're early in this stage and you're trying to dissect what's going on in your brain and kind of help you land on an answer. Because I feel like so often in this, we start questioning, and you're questioning everything in your life, and you want an answer immediately. It's going to take time. These prompts help you to uncover that faster.
There's a song lyric in my favorite Jason Isbell where he says about this woman, he's like, her questions are directions to the truth. And
Ooh.
it's so true. It's like when you're with people that ask you things that kind of, you can come to your own conclusions, but it's kind of like directions to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that truth, who knows what that is? And maybe that's
Yeah.
part of the fun. Maybe that's part of the learning yourself. But
It's so funny because I think at the end of the day, what so many people want is someone to look them in the eyes and be like, you are gay.
yeah,
But you're not going to get that.
you're never going to get that. You're never going to get that.
Maybe
So,
a girlfriend will tell you down the line. I've had women that I've dated tell me that, like, you're so
right.
gay. Like, how did you not see this? But you're
Yeah.
not going to get that from like a mental health professional.
No, so it's just like questions or directions to the truth. So ask the questions and we're going to put them out there, and they're great. Like they're stuff that all of us dealt with.
100%.
So please, please, please get on the site. It's lesbianchroniclespodcast.com. So don't
Yes.
forget the podcast part, 'cause sometimes I go there and I forget the podcast part. So Lesbian Chronicles Podcast.
Love it.
Love it. All right, my friends.
We'll talk next week.
Next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Want to support the Lesbian Chronicles podcast? Rate us and write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
We love listener feedback. If you'd like to share your story, email us at melissaandalli@gmail.com. That's Melissa, MELISA, and Alli, ALLI, @gmail.com. Or follow us on Instagram at Lesbian Chronicles.